The first guest to check into my hotel on that Tuesday was a dead man. Not literally dead, not yet, but looking back, I realised that's exactly what Ryan Carter was. A walking ghost who'd come to haunt every corner of my life. I watched him sign the register with practiced flourishes, his Mont Blanc pen dancing across the paper. My hotel, the Thompson, wasn't the kind of place that usually attracted men in $3,000 suits and hand-stitched Italian leather shoes. We were boutique, yes, but more vintage charm than modern luxury. Beautiful restoration work, he said, gesturing to the original crown moulding. You don't see this kind of attention to detail anymore. I'm Eva, and I've spent the last decade restoring this place to its former glory. It was my parents' legacy before the accident, and now it's mine. Thank you. The moulding nearly bankrupted me, but I couldn't bear to see it replaced with something modern. His smile reached his eyes. I'll give him credit for that. Later, I'd learn how he practiced those smiles in mirrors, perfecting every crinkle. Sometimes the most expensive choice is the only right choice. He leaned in slightly, cologne, subtle but expensive. I'm in town for a few weeks. Any chance you'd let me buy you dinner? I'd love to hear more about the restoration. I should have said no. Should have seen how his interest was too perfect, too practiced. But loneliness is a hell of a drug, and I'd been sober for far too long. I don't typically have dinner with guests, I said, but I was already reaching for his keycard. Already imagining how the story would sound when I told my sister Lily about the handsome stranger who'd swept me off my feet. I respect that completely. He stepped back, hands raised in playful surrender. How about after I check out? Then I'm just another admirer of fine architecture and beautiful hotel managers. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, hating myself for being so easily charmed. Maybe. We'll see how well you treat my hotel. Challenge accepted. He took the keycard, his fingers brushing mine. Room 412, was it? The corner suite with the bay windows. Best view in the house. I doubt that, he said, eyes locked on mine. I watched him walk to the elevator, wheeling his expensive luggage behind him. My phone buzzed. Lily, right on cue. She had a sixth sense for drama. You'll never believe who just checked in, I said, answering before the second ring. Tell me everything, she demanded. Is he gorgeous? Rich? Single? All of the above, apparently. I lowered my voice as another guest approached the desk. Dinner at Marco's tonight? I'll fill you in. God, yes. Finally, something interesting happens in this town. If only we'd known what kind of interesting was walking into our lives. If only I'd noticed how he'd known about the bay windows in 412 before I mentioned them. If only I'd wondered why a man who could afford the Four Seasons chose my modest hotel instead. But that's the thing about perfect moments. They're usually perfectly orchestrated. Ryan Carter had spent months planning his entrance into my life, studying my habits, learning my weaknesses. By the time he signed that register, he knew more about me than most of my friends. I just didn't know I was already cast in his latest production, playing the role of both Mark and unwitting accomplice. The script was written, the stage was set, and I'd just given my first performance without even knowing the show had begun. Looking back, I should have trusted my instincts when Grace, my best friend and event planner, called later that afternoon. Eva, honey, you're not going to believe who I just got off the phone with. Ryan Carter's assistant. They want to book the entire hotel for a wedding next month. What? I gripped the phone tighter. He just checked in an hour ago. Exactly, Grace said, her voice tight with concern. Don't you think that's a little strange? Strange didn't begin to cover it, but by then the curtain was already rising on Act 1, and I was about to learn just how expensive the right choices could really be. Marco's was packed that night, but Lily was already at our usual corner booth, phone in hand, perfectly styled as always. The difference between us was stark, me still in my work clothes, her looking like she'd stepped out of an Instagram post. Sometimes I wondered if we really were sisters. He's even better looking in person, Lily said, eyes fixed over my shoulder. I turned to see Ryan entering the restaurant and my stomach dropped. This wasn't coincidence. He'd known exactly where to find us. Eva, he called out, making his way over. What a pleasant surprise. Lily's face lit up like a Christmas tree. You must be the mysterious new guest. I'm Lily, Eva's sister. Ryan Carter. He slid into our booth without invitation, right next to Lily. Eva didn't mention she had such a charming sister. I watched them interact, feeling like I was witnessing a car crash in slow motion. Lily laughed too loud at his jokes, touched his arm too often. Ryan matched her energy perfectly, but his eyes kept darting to me, gauging my reaction. "So, what brings you to our little town?" I asked, cutting through their flirtation. "Business opportunities. Your hotel, actually. I'm thinking of investing in similar properties." He pulled out his phone, showing us photos of restored historic buildings. "I've done several projects like this in Boston." Lily leaned in closer. "That's amazing. Eva's been trying to expand for years, but the banks won't take the risk." I shot her a look. We didn't discuss business matters with strangers, especially not my financial struggles. But Lily was already continuing. "You should see her proposal. She's got this whole vision for turning the old Morrison building into a sister hotel." "Lily?" My voice came out sharper than intended. "What?" He could help. God knows you need it after that last rejection. Ryan watched our exchange with careful interest. "I'd love to see the proposal, Eva. Maybe we could discuss it over dinner tomorrow." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Grace's text made my blood run cold. "Did background check. No record of Ryan Carter's company in Boston. Call me Asa P." "I should really keep business and pleasure separate," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Smart woman." Ryan smiled, but something shifted in his eyes. "Though sometimes the best opportunities come from mixing the two." "Eva's always been the careful one," Lily said, rolling her eyes. "Me, I believe in taking chances." "Speaking of chances," Ryan turned to her, "I'm hosting a small gathering at my suite tomorrow evening. Nothing fancy, just drinks and conversation. You should both come." "We'd love to," Lily answered before I could decline. "Actually, I have inventory tomorrow night," I lied, standing up, "and Lily has an early shift at the cafe." "I can switch shifts," Lily protested, but I was already gathering my things. "Another time, perhaps," Ryan said smoothly. "Though I hope you'll reconsider, Eva. Sometimes the best decisions are made outside office hours." Walking home later, Lily wouldn't stop talking about him. "He's perfect for you, Eva. Successful, interested in the same things." "He's not what he seems," I cut in, showing her Grace's text. Lily scoffed. "Grace is just being overprotective. Not everyone has ulterior motives." "You barely know him. And you barely know how to live." She stopped walking, turning to face me. "Ever since Mom and Dad died, you've done nothing but work and worry. Maybe it's time you took a risk." "Maybe it's time you grew up," I snapped back, instantly regretting it. Lily's face hardened. "I'm going to that gathering tomorrow night, with or without you." I watched her storm off, heels clicking against the pavement. My phone buzzed again, another text from Grace. "Found something else. Ryan Carter's brother Mason just filed for bankruptcy protection. Family business gone under. Be careful." The pieces were starting to fit together, but not in any way I liked. Ryan wasn't here by chance, and my sister was walking right into whatever game he was playing. I pulled up my hotel's security app, checking the cameras. Ryan was in the lobby, on his phone, looking far too pleased with himself. Tomorrow night's gathering suddenly seemed like an opportunity I couldn't afford to miss. Sometimes the best way to protect what's yours is to walk straight into the trap. As long as you're the one holding the trigger, the numbers didn't lie. I stared at my laptop screen, cross-referencing the hotel's transaction records with the documents Grace had sent over. Every night since Ryan checked in, there had been a surge of credit card activity. Not just in the rooms he'd booked, but throughout the hotel. Small charges spread across different cards, all just under the reporting threshold. My phone lit up with Lily's text. "Having breakfast with Ryan. He has amazing ideas for the Morrison Building renovation." The Morrison Building. My dream project, now being dangled like bait. I clicked through another set of transactions, my hands shaking. The pattern was clear. Ryan wasn't just staying at my hotel, he was using it. "You should see this," Grace said, walking into my office without knocking. She dropped a stack of papers on my desk. "Remember those Boston properties he showed you? They're all in foreclosure. The Carter family business is underwater. And Ryan's brother Mason is trying to salvage what's left. Does Lily know? Lily won't listen to anyone right now. She thinks she's in love. I pulled up the security cameras. Ryan and Lily were in the hotel restaurant, heads close together over Sophie. He was showing her something on his phone, and she was nodding enthusiastically. The same way I probably looked when he first showed me those fake investment properties. We need to talk to Mason, Grace said. No, I closed my laptop. First, I need to hear Ryan explain these transactions himself. I found him in the bar that evening, nursing a whiskey. Lily was nowhere in sight. Small mercies. Eva, he smiled that practiced smile. I was just thinking about you. Funny how that works. I sat down, sliding a printout across the bar. I was thinking about you too. And these unusual patterns in our credit card transactions. His expression didn't change, but his knuckles whitened around his glass. You know how corporate expenses work. Sometimes things need to be structured creatively. Creative like your Boston properties? The ones in foreclosure? Now the smile faltered. You've been checking up on me. You're using my hotel for money laundering, Ryan. The question is why? You're making dangerous accusations. His voice dropped, all charm vanishing. Accusations that could hurt a lot of people, including Lily. My blood ran cold. Leave my sister out of this. She's already in it. She signed the partnership papers this morning. Didn't she tell you? She's investing her inheritance in our venture. The room spun. Lily's inheritance, the money our parents left her, the money I'd been managing until she turned 30. She'd been asking about accessing it early. You son of a bitch. Business is business, Eva. Your hotel's perfect, established, respectable, just under the radar. We could help each other. Or, he shrugged, things could get complicated. They already are. I stood up, fighting to keep my voice steady. You have 24 hours to check out. You might want to discuss that with your new partner first. He finished his whiskey. Lily's quite excited about our plans. It would be a shame to disappoint her. I walked away before I could do something stupid, like throw his whiskey in his face. In the lobby, my phone buzzed with an email notification. Lily had requested an emergency transfer of funds to a new business account. The paperwork was already filed. Grace was waiting in my office. Mason Carter called back. He wants to meet. Too late. I showed her the transfer request. Ryan's already got what he wanted, access to clean money through a legitimate business. What are you going to do? I looked at the security feed again. Ryan was still at the bar, now on his phone, probably moving pieces into place. He thought he had me cornered. The protective sister, the cautious businesswoman, too afraid of scandal to fight back. But he'd made one crucial mistake. The Thompson Hotel wasn't just my business. It was my parents' legacy. And I'd learned long ago that sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to burn everything else to the ground. Call Mason back, I said. Tell him to meet us tomorrow. And Grace, bring everything you've found. It's time to show Ryan Carter what creative accounting really looks like. Mason Carter looked nothing like his brother. Where Ryan was all polished charm, Mason carried himself with the worn-down dignity of someone who'd spent years cleaning up other people's messes. We met at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the hotel, far enough that Ryan wouldn't accidentally spot us. The money laundering started small, Mason said, spreading documents across the table. Family business was failing. Ryan promised he could save it. By the time I realized what he was doing, we were in too deep. Grace studied the papers, her event planner's eye for detail catching what others might miss. These transactions matched the patterns we found at the hotel. He's done this before, I asked, though I already knew the answer. Mason's laugh was bitter. The Thompson Hotel is his 4th attempt. The others... He slid over a newspaper clipping. 3 historic hotels, all foreclosed within months of Ryan's involvement. My phone buzzed. Lily again. I ignored it, but Mason noticed. He's good at finding pressure points, people's weaknesses. My sister isn't weak, I snapped. No, but she wants something. Ryan's excellent at spotting what people want. He pulled out another document. Like this proposal for the Morrison building renovation. It's brilliant, isn't it? Exactly what you've been dreaming of. I stared at the familiar plans. My plans repackaged with Ryan's company letterhead. He stole this from my office. Probably while Lily was distracting you, Grace said quietly. The night of the gathering. My phone buzzed again. This time, I looked. A photo from Lily, her and Ryan at the Morrison building, hard hats on, champagne in hand. Breaking ground next week, the caption read. Dreams do come true. He can't break ground, I said. He doesn't own. Check the county records, Mason interrupted. See, as of this morning, Carter Developments owns the Morrison building, purchased with capital from their newest partner. My sister's inheritance. Our parents' legacy, handed over to a con man because I'd been too slow, too cautious, too afraid to act. Why are you helping us? Grace asked Mason. He's your brother. Because next time he won't stop at bankruptcy. Someone's going to get hurt or worse. Mason gathered his papers. But I never had this conversation with you. Ryan's dangerous when he's cornered. So am I said. But Mason was already walking away, leaving behind one final document, a USB drive labelled Carter Family Financial Records. Back at the hotel, Lily was waiting in my office. Why aren't you answering my calls? This is important, Eva. The Morrison project is happening. With what money, Lily? Your inheritance? The money Mom and Dad left to secure your future? To secure our future, she corrected. Ryan showed me the numbers. We could triple our investment in 18 months. Like he tripled investments at these hotels? I pulled up the newspaper articles Mason had shared. All bankrupted, all under investigation for fraud. That's not... He explained those. They were timing issues, market conditions. He's using you to get to me, to get to this hotel. God, you're so paranoid. Lily slammed her hand on my desk. Not everyone is trying to hurt us. Some people actually want to help us succeed. Like Ryan helped his other partners succeed. I played the security footage from the bar, his threat about Lily still clear in the audio. She watched, face paling. That's not... He was just protecting our investment. No, he was protecting his scheme. And you handed him everything he needed to destroy us. Lily's phone chimed. Ryan, of course. She looked at it, then at me, tears welling up. You're wrong about him, I'll prove it. She ran out before I could stop her. Through my office window, I watched her cross the lobby, straight into Ryan's waiting arms. He looked up, caught my eye, and smiled that perfect, practiced smile. I plugged Mason's USB drive into my computer. If Ryan wanted to play with family legacies, fine. But he'd forgotten something crucial about the Thompson sisters. We learned about revenge at our father's knee, watching him build this hotel empire one calculated risk at a time. Time to show Ryan Carter what a real calculated risk looks like. The Morrison Building groundbreaking ceremony felt like watching my own funeral. I stood at the back of the crowd, Grace beside me, as Ryan worked the room like a master conductor. Lily sparkled at his side, playing the role of adoring partner perfectly. The Thompson-Carter vision represents more than just renovation, Ryan announced to the gathered investors. It's about family legacy, about trust, about building something lasting together. My fingers tightened around the USB drive in my pocket. Mason's data had revealed everything. The shell companies, the laundered money, the pattern of destruction left in Ryan's wake. But it also showed something worse. Lily's signature on documents she couldn't possibly understand, making her legally complicit in his schemes. You okay? Grace whispered. I nodded, watching Ryan guide Lily toward the ceremonial shovel. They looked perfect together, both glowing with anticipated triumph. My sister hadn't spoken to me in days, not since our fight in my office. And now, Ryan continued, I'd like to invite Eva Thompson to join us. After all, this project wouldn't exist without her original vision. The crowd turned, expecting me to step forward. Ryan's smile was razor-sharp, daring me to make a scene. He knew I wouldn't risk exposing him here, not with Lily's future on the line. I walked to the podium, accepted the second shovel he offered. Thank you, Ryan. You're right. Family legacy is everything. His eyes narrowed slightly at my tone. I turned to the crowd, gripping the shovel like a weapon. Which is why I'm pleased to announce that the Thompson Hotel will be partnering exclusively with Carter Developments' parent company for all future projects. Ryan's practiced smile flickered. Behind him, I saw Grace slip away from the crowd. Right on cue. In fact, I continued, I've already submitted the paperwork to the board. They were particularly interested in the company's financial records. The blood drained from Ryan's face. He knew exactly which records I meant, the ones Mason had provided, the ones Grace was delivering to the board right now. Eva, Lily stepped forward, confusion clouding her features. What are you doing? Protecting our legacy. I turned back to the crowd. If you'll excuse me, I have an urgent meeting with the hotel board. I'm sure Ryan can handle the rest of the ceremony. I walked away, counting steps. 3, 4, 5. Eva, Ryan's voice carried across the lot. A word? We met halfway between the crowd and the street, his charm replaced by barely contained fury. Whatever you think you're doing, I'm doing exactly what you taught me, Ryan. Making calculated risks. You have no idea what you're risking, he hissed. That USB drive, Mason had no right. Mason's not the only one who kept records. I pulled out my phone, showed him the screen. Remember that night in the bar when you threatened my sister? Hotel security cameras catch everything. His mask slipped completely then, showing the desperate man beneath. You'll destroy her too. Those documents she signed are void as of an hour ago. The board's lawyers found some interesting irregularities in the filing dates. Lily appeared beside us, her face pale. What documents? Ryan, what is she talking about? Nothing, sweetheart. Just business details. Show her, I cut in. Show her the real contracts she signed. The ones that would have made her liable when everything fell apart. Ryan reached for Lily's arm, but she stepped back. For the first time, I saw doubt in my sister's eyes. The groundbreaking, Ryan said quickly. We need to finish. Is cancelled, Grace called out, walking back from the hotel. The board sends their regrets, and the police send their regards. The crowd was dispersing now, investors muttering among themselves. Ryan's perfect ceremony was unravelling thread by thread. You're bluffing, he said, but his eyes darted toward his car. Am I? I stepped closer. Run if you want, but remember, I learned about revenge from the best. You. He backed away, mask completely shattered. Lily stood between us, tears streaming down her face as she finally saw the truth. The sirens started in the distance, growing closer. Ryan turned and ran, leaving everything behind. The ceremony, the schemes, my sister. I reached for Lily's hand. She flinched but didn't pull away. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know. I squeezed her hand, watching Ryan's figure disappear around the corner. Let's go home. The real work, healing our family, rebuilding trust, was just beginning. But at least now we could face it together, without any more perfect lies standing between us. 3 days after Ryan disappeared, I found Lily unconscious in her apartment, an empty bottle of sleeping pills beside her. The note simply read, I'm sorry I ruined everything. Now I sit in the hospital waiting room, my hands shaking as I scroll through the messages flooding my phone. The hotel board wants an emergency meeting. The police need another statement. Grace keeps sending updates about the media circus gathering outside the Thompson. Miss Thompson, a detective appears, notebook in hand. We need to discuss the documents your sister signed. She didn't know, I say automatically, the same words I've repeated for days. Ryan manipulated her. The evidence suggests otherwise. He slides over a photo, Lily and Ryan at a bank, both smiling as they signed papers. These transfers were made weeks before the Morrison project. My chest tightens. That's impossible, the timeline. Shows your sister was an active participant in Mr. Carter's financial schemes, unless you have evidence proving otherwise. I think of Mason's USB drive now in police custody. The records that saved me might damn Lily. My revenge against Ryan could cost my sister everything. Grace appears, face drawn. Eva, the board's here. They're talking about forcing a sale. They can't. They can if they prove the hotel was used for money laundering, with or without your knowledge. The detective watches this exchange with interest. Anything you'd like to add to your statement, Miss Thompson? The hospital room door opens before I can respond. The doctor's expression tells me everything before she speaks. We've stabilized her, but... I push past them all, needing to see Lily. She looks small in the hospital bed, tubes snaking from her arms. The sister I tried so desperately to protect, now broken by my need for revenge. You should have told me. Mason's voice makes me jump. He stands in the doorway looking as haunted as I feel. About Lily's involvement. I could have helped. Like you helped by giving me those records? My laugh sounds hollow. Your evidence might send her to prison. Ryan called me. Mason steps closer, voice low. He's willing to make a deal. He'll take full responsibility, claim he forged Lily's signatures, if you drop the charges and sell him the hotel. He's lying. Probably. But right now he's offering you a choice. Your hotel, or your sister. Through the window I can see reporters gathering. The Thompson Hotel scandal grows by the hour. The perfect revenge story turning into a nightmare. My phone buzzes again, an email from the board. They've called an emergency vote for tomorrow. Without my parents controlling shares, which I signed over to Lily months ago as part of her inheritance, I can't stop them. Time's running out, Mason says quietly. Ryan's flight leaves tonight. After that, his offer dies, and Lily faces the consequences. I look at my sister, remembering her as a child, always following me around the hotel, dreaming of making it grander. Now those dreams might destroy us both. He planned this, I realize. From the beginning. The hotel, Lily, all of it. I thought I was destroying him, but he's still playing the game, Mason finishes. Question is, are you willing to lose everything to win? Grace appears with coffee I didn't ask for. Board's getting restless. They want an answer about the sale. I take the coffee, letting its heat burn my palms. The pain helps me think. Ryan calculated everything except one detail. He assumed I'd choose between my sister and my hotel. I pull out my phone, dialing a number I memorized from Mason's files. Hello, Mr. Chen. This is Eva Thompson. I believe you lost some money in one of Ryan Carter's previous ventures. I have a proposition for you. Mason's eyes widen as he realizes what I'm doing. Ava, wait! But I'm already speaking, trading the last piece of my soul for one final shot at salvation. Sometimes, to save everything, you have to be willing to lose it all first. The game isn't over. It's just becoming something darker than even Ryan imagined. The private terminal at the airport was empty except for Ryan, his perfectly tailored suit now wrinkled from hours of waiting. I watched through the glass as he checked his phone again, probably wondering why his escape plane hadn't arrived. He's alone, Grace confirmed through my earpiece. Lily's documents are ready. I pushed through the door, the click of my heels echoing across polished floors. Ryan's head snapped up, relief washing over his face. Eva, I knew you'd make the right choice. Did you? I placed a manila envelope on the seat between us. The hotel's transfer papers as requested. He reached for them, but I held up my hand. First, sign these. I slid over another set of documents. Confession of fraud, absolving Lily of any involvement. Of course. His smile was genuine. He thought he'd won. I meant what I said. I never wanted to hurt her. No, you just wanted to use her to hurt me. Business is business. He started signing without reading, confident in his victory. You understand that now, don't you? Sometimes we have to sacrifice the things we love. Like your brother sacrificed everything for you? Ryan's pen paused. Mason made his choices. He did, starting with that USB drive he gave me. I watched his face carefully. But he wasn't the only one keeping records, was he, Mr. Chen? The door opened behind me. Ryan's face went ash-white as James Chen walked in, flanked by federal agents. The thing about revenge, Ryan, I said quietly, is that your old victims are often happy to help destroy you, and you can't. He grabbed for the hotel transfer papers, but I pulled them back. Those? They're fake? Just like the confession you just signed. I smiled his own practiced smile back at him. Business is business, right? The hotel board, already voted this morning. Turns out Mr. Chen bought enough shares to swing the decision. Your previous victims were very generous once they learned they could help take you down. Ryan lunged for the door, but the agents were faster. As they read him his rights, I saw Masons step out of the shadows. I'm sorry, brother, Mason said softly, but someone had to stop you. You betrayed me? Ryan struggled against the handcuffs. For her? No. Mason met my eyes. For all of us you destroyed along the way. I walked over to Ryan close enough to see the desperation in his eyes. You were right about one thing. Sometimes we have to sacrifice the things we love. I pulled out my phone, showed him the live feed from the Thompson Hotel. Like your reputation. On the screen, reporters swarmed as federal agents carried boxes of evidence through the lobby. Years of Ryan's careful schemes exposed for the world to see. You'll lose everything, he spat. Once people know the hotel was involved, they'll know it helped bring down a criminal enterprise. I pocketed my phone. The Thompson Hotel becomes the hero of the story. Lily becomes the innocent victim who helped expose the truth. And you become exactly what you always were, a con man who finally got caught. Eva. His voice cracked, that perfect facade finally shattering completely. Please, I'll give you anything. You already did. You taught me how to destroy someone completely. I turned away, nodding to the agents. Goodbye, Ryan. As they led him away, I heard him shouting promises and threats, but they meant nothing now. Grace appeared at my side, squeezing my hand. Lily's awake, she said. She's asking for you. Tell her I'm coming, with good news. Mason stopped me before I could leave. Was it worth it? Becoming like him to destroy him? I thought about Lily in that hospital bed, about our parents' legacy, about all the people Ryan had ruined. I didn't become like him. I became what I needed to be to protect what matters. Through the terminal windows, I watched Ryan being loaded into a federal vehicle. He looked small now, ordinary, all his power stripped away with his illusions. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about revealing who they truly are, and who you can become in the process. The Morrison Building's renovations started on a Tuesday, just like the day Ryan first walked into my hotel. This time, though, I stood alone at the groundbreaking, watching the sunrise paint the old brick walls gold. You're here early. Grace appeared beside me, coffee in hand. The ceremony's not for hours. Just wanted to see it one last time before everything changes. The construction crew arrived, their equipment rumbling to life. Each crash of demolition inside felt like justice, tearing down the last traces of Ryan's schemes to build something real in their place. My phone buzzed, a news alert about Ryan's sentencing. I deleted it without reading. Some endings matter less than new beginnings. Lily's waiting in the lobby, Grace said quietly. She wants to help with the project. I turned away from the construction site, walking toward the hotel. Through the windows, I could see Lily at the front desk, reviewing blueprints with Mason. She looked stronger now, more like herself, though shadows still lingered under her eyes. The Feng Shui consultant says this layout is all wrong, Lily said as I approached. We should move the main entrance. Since when do we care about Feng Shui? Since I started researching Asian hotel designs. She pushed forward a folder of ideas. If we're partnering with Mr. Chen's hotel group, we should incorporate elements that appeal to international guests. I studied the plans, seeing echoes of our parents' original vision mixed with something new, something ours. Mason gathered his papers. I should go. Ryan's sentencing. Stay, I said. We could use a good lawyer for the permits. He hesitated, surprise flickering across his face. Even after everything? Especially after everything. I met his eyes. Some people deserve second chances. The hotel lobby filled with morning light as guests began trickling down for breakfast. I watched them move through the space, unaware they were standing in what had almost been a crime scene. Now it was just a hotel again. Or maybe it always had been, and Ryan had been the only illusion. Eva, Lily touched my arm, about the inheritance. I want to invest it properly this time. In us. In this. She gestured to the blueprints. If you'll trust me again. Trust isn't the problem. I picked up the Feng Shui plans. But maybe we start smaller, one renovation at a time. Grace appeared with more coffee and a stack of newspapers. They're calling us the hotel that caught a criminal. Great for business, terrible for headlines. Speaking of business, Mason pulled out one final document. Ryan's assets are being liquidated. His share of the Morrison project is available for purchase. I looked at Lily, seeing the same thought cross her mind. How much? Less than you'd think. No one wants to touch anything with his name on it. Except us, Lily said firmly. We'll take it. Outside, another crash echoed from the construction site. Through the dust, I could see the Morrison building's original stonework emerging, beautiful despite decades of neglect. You know what Mom used to say about old buildings? I asked Lily. That they're like people. Sometimes you have to strip away everything false to find what's real underneath. She smiled, really smiled for the first time in weeks. And then you rebuild. I spread the blueprints across the front desk, our family gathering around them, Grace with her practical suggestions, Mason with his legal notes, Lily with her international designs. All of us damaged by Ryan's deception, all of us choosing to build something new from the ruins. The morning sun reached the crown moulding, the expensive, original details that had first caught Ryan's eye. They still gleamed, but differently now. Less like fool's gold, more like something that had survived the fire and emerged stronger. I picked up a pen, ready to mark changes on the blueprints. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying what's broken. Sometimes it's about reclaiming what was always yours, and building it into something even your enemies couldn't imagine. All right, I said, let's make something beautiful.
Leah, we need to go, now. Alex stood by the door, one shoe on, one shoe off. His phone buzzed on the counter, a jittery reminder of his mother's panicked voice moments earlier. Did she say what happened? I asked, rushing to grab my keys. No, just that everything's out on the lawn and she needs us. Sounded off, Leah. Really off. We sped through the quiet streets, my heart drumming in sync with the pulsing engine. Ruth had always been a strong woman, not the sort to easily panic. My fingers tightened around the wheel, my mind racing. When we pulled up to the house, the scene was jarring. Ruth's belongings were strewn across the yard. Old photo albums lay open, pages fluttering in the breeze. Furniture was haphazardly arranged, and Ruth sat on the porch, a calm smile on her face. It didn't fit. Mom? Alex rushed forward. What happened? Are you okay? Ruth looked up, her eyes twinkling with something I couldn't quite place. They think they've outsmarted me. Little do they know, their game has just begun. Alex and I exchanged a worried glance. What do you mean? Who did this? Ruth patted the space beside her, inviting us to sit. Sebastian and Trina. They want control, but I'm not so easily fooled. The weight of her words hung in the air. We had known Sebastian and Trina were ambitious, but this was beyond anything we imagined. Leah, they left her here, just abandoned her. Alex's voice cracked with frustration. Mom, you need to come with us. It's wrong. We can't just leave you here. Ruth nodded, standing up with a grace that belied her age. Let's gather what we can. The rest can wait. As we packed up Ruth's life, she seemed oddly composed. Alex kept shaking his head, eyes clouded with confusion. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Ruth's cryptic comment about the game had unsettled me deeply. Back at our place, we settled Ruth into the guest room. Alex and I sat in the kitchen, the silence stretching between us. Finally, he broke it. She said, "Their game has just begun, Leah." What does she mean? I shrugged, feeling the same unease. I don't know, but we need to find out. Ruth's presence changed the dynamic of our home completely. She acted as though nothing unusual had happened, her demeanor eerily serene. Over dinner, she was her usual bright self, discussing mundane things like the weather and neighborhood gossip. It was only later, as I watched her from the doorway of her room, that I caught a fleeting glimpse of something cold and calculating in her eyes. It disappeared almost as soon as it appeared. The next morning, Alex and I sat sipping coffee, our thoughts clearly on the same track. We need to talk to Sebastian and Trina, I suggested. Agreed, but let's do it carefully. They won't confess easily. Leah, I just want a family that's close. I thought moving back here would bring us together. His voice was laced with disappointment. I reached out, giving his hand a reassuring squeeze. We'll figure this out. We will. Days turned into a blur of whispered conversations and silent tensions. Alex set up a meeting with Sebastian. Meanwhile, Ruth continued her cryptic hints, always stopping just short of revealing her full hand. One night, as I walked past Ruth's room, I heard her murmur, "The pawns are in place." Yet my blood ran cold. Something serious was unfolding, and we were right in the middle of it. As we prepared to face Sebastian, a mixture of dread and determination settled in my chest. This wasn't just about Ruth anymore. It was about uncovering the truth, protecting our family, and maybe playing a game we hadn't known we'd entered. And I was ready to win. Sitting across from Sebastian was like confronting a glacier, cold and immovable. His eyes darted between Alex and me, a smirk playing on his lips. Trina sat beside him, flipping through her phone, acting disinterested. "So what's this about, little brother?" Sebastian finally asked, that smug grin not leaving his face. Alex clenched his fists under the table. "Mom's things were thrown out. She was scared and confused. We want to know why." Sebastian raised an eyebrow, leaning back in his chair. "Mom's condition is worsening. It's better for her to be with someone who can provide constant care." "And that someone is you?" Alex's voice dripped with sarcasm. Trina finally looked up, her expression bored. "She needs stability, Alex. Your job keeps you busy. We can provide what she needs." I felt my anger rising. Abandoning her on the porch doesn't sound like providing care. Sebastian shrugged. "She was being difficult. We had to make a point." Alex's face turned red. "A point? She's your mother." Sebastian's smirk faded, replaced by a cold glare. "Don't lecture me, Alex. I'm handling it." The tension in the room was suffocating. I realized we wouldn't get any honest answers here. Alex stood up abruptly, and I followed. "This isn't over, Sebastian," Alex said. Sebastian's eyes narrowed. "Make sure it's not. You wouldn't want to test me." As we left, I couldn't shake the feeling that Sebastian and Trina were hiding something far more sinister. They had no intention of letting Ruth regain control over her life. When we got home, Ruth was knitting in the living room, calm as ever. She glanced up at us. "How did it go?" she asked with a knowing smile. "Not well," Alex replied, dropping onto the couch. "Did you expect anything different?" Ruth's tone was light, but her eyes were sharp. We stayed silent for a moment before Ruth spoke again. "It's time you knew what Sebastian and Trina are really after." She motioned for us to sit. We listened as she began to unravel the tangled web of manipulation. Sebastian and Trina had been planning this for a long time. Ruth's assets, her will, everything was part of their strategy to secure control. "They think I'm losing my mind," Ruth said with a hint of amusement. "But I've been keeping tabs on them." "They've underestimated you," I said, admiration creeping into my voice. Ruth nodded. "Their greed will be their undoing." That night, Alex and I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. "We need a plan," he said quietly. I turned to him. "We need to protect her and expose them." In the following days, we set our plan into motion. Ruth handed over documents, receipts, anything that tracked Sebastian and Trina's moves. Every revelation fueled our resolve. One evening, our doorbell rang. It was Trina, holding a box of Ruth's things. "Mom left these at the house," she said sweetly. "She's not your responsibility anymore," Alex snapped. Trina's eyes glinted. "We'll see about that." As she left, I exchanged a look with Alex. The battle lines were drawn. Their game was cruel, but we were ready to fight back. Ruth's quiet strength bolstered our determination. We'd protect her from this twisted game and bring Sebastian and Trina's plans crashing down. The stakes were high, but like Ruth said, it was they who had miscalculated. Every weekend, Alex and I visited Ruth at Sebastian's house. Each time, the hostility from Sebastian and Trina was palpable. One Saturday, we found Ruth alone in the living room, gazing absently out the window. "Hi, Mom," Alex said gently. She turned, smiling. "Hello, dear. Leah." Sebastian entered, his face darkening at our presence. "You're early." "We wanted to spend some time with Mom," I said, matching his cold stare. "Don't mind us," Alex added. "We'll just be a while." Sebastian scoffed. "Make it quick. Trina and I have plans." We exchanged a look with Ruth, her eyes calm but aware. We sat and chatted, trying to ignore Sebastian's hovering presence. After a while, Ruth's gaze drifted to her eldest son. "Sebastian, why don't you join us?" His sneer was immediate. "Pardon? I have better things to do than listen to family trivia." "Like plotting against Mom?" Alex shot back. Sebastian's eyes narrowed. "Careful, Alex." Ruth's hand on Alex's arm was the only thing that kept him from saying more. "Let's not quarrel," she said softly. He bit his lip, but stayed silent. Ruth turned to me, her eyes asking 1,000 questions. I forced a smile. It's just frustrating seeing how you're treated. Leah, she said, her voice firm, we'll handle it. Sebastian's phone buzzed, breaking the tension. Mom, Trina and I are taking over your care. It's obvious you can't live alone anymore. Ruth's composed mask didn't slip. And what exactly do you mean by that? Sebastian shrugged. You'll be moving in with us permanently. My jaw dropped. Without discussing it? She's not in any state to argue, he replied, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Ruth's eyes locked on mine. We'll see. The atmosphere was heavy as we left. Back home, Alex punched a wall in frustration. He's manipulating everything. We can't let him do this. We won't, I promised, but we need evidence. The following weeks, we documented every interaction, every comment. Ruth's clarity in those moments was undeniable. She played along, giving just enough to keep Sebastian and Trina at bay. One afternoon, while Ruth and I sat in the garden, she spoke quietly. They're convinced they've won, but every pawn they move brings them closer to their downfall. Alex joined us, bringing his laptop. Look at this. Mom, did you sign any documents recently? Her eyes flickered with a hint of triumph. Sebastian tried to force my hand. I signed nothing of importance. That's crucial, Alex said, showing us forged papers. They're trying to make it look like you did. Ruth's smile was frightfully serene. They'll regret underestimating me. Days later, I overheard Sebastian and Trina conspiring. Once she's declared unfit, everything's ours, Trina whispered. Sebastian smirked. It's only a matter of time. I recorded their conversation, my heart pounding. Our proof was building, and with it, our resolve. The next family dinner, Ruth was the picture of serenity. Mid-conversation, she casually dropped, I'll be making some changes to my will. Sebastian's fork clattered to his plate. What changes? Ruth smiled sweetly. To protect myself from unforeseen circumstances. You can't do that, Trina snapped, panic edging her voice. Oh, but I can, Ruth replied, and I will. The dinner ended in frosty silence, but we knew we had them on edge now. That night, Alex and I stayed up late, plans unfurling between us. Ruth wasn't alone in her fight. We were a team, and we aimed to expose every deceit, every betrayal. The game was far from over. Ruth's resilience and cunning fortified our resolve. Sebastian and Trina might have started this, but we intended to finish it. Days turned into weeks, and each visit to Sebastian's felt like stepping into enemy territory. Ruth remained a calm force, but the tension was suffocating. Her serene demeanor only seemed to infuriate Sebastian and Trina more. One humid Saturday afternoon, Alex and I were sorting through some of Ruth's papers in the guest room when we heard raised voices downstairs. We hurried to find Ruth and Sebastian in a heated argument. You can't just take over my life, Sebastian. Ruth's voice was trembling but firm. You're not thinking straight, Mom. This is for your own good, Sebastian snarled, his face a mask of frustration. Alex stepped between them. Stop this, Sebastian. She's not incapable. You have no right. Trina appeared out of nowhere, her face twisted with a mean smile. You're fighting a losing battle, Alex. Just accept it. No, Alex shot back. We're not giving up on Mom. Ruth's eyes met mine with a silent resolve, then turned back to Sebastian. I may be getting old, but I'm not blind to your intentions. Sebastian's jaw tightened. You'll regret standing against us. Later that night, as we prepared to leave, Ruth pulled us aside. I overheard them talking, she whispered, her expression more serious than usual. What did they say? I asked, heart pounding. They plan to get me declared mentally unfit. They need the control. Alex's eyes widened. How can they do that? Now Ruth's smile was grim. They've already got a doctor who'll back their claim. Then we need to act fast, I said. We need more evidence. The days that followed were filled with a quiet, simmering tension. Ruth continued to play her role, but I could see the exhaustion in her eyes. Still, she never wavered. One evening, Alex and I decided to pay a surprise visit. We arrived to find Ruth sitting quietly in the living room, her usually neat hair slightly disheveled. She motioned us to sit. Listen carefully, she said softly. I've learned they plan to have me moved to a facility. What? Alex's voice was loud, his eyes wide with disbelief. It's happening soon, Ruth continued. Sebastian wants to make it look like I can't live at home anymore. Trina suddenly appeared, her eyes narrowing as she noticed us. What are you doing here? We needed to talk to Mom, I said calmly. Trina didn't bother to hide her contempt. You're meddling where you don't belong. It's too late to save her. Ruth stood up slowly, her eyes never leaving Trina's. "This isn't over." Trina smirked. "It will be soon." We left with a fierce determination burning in our chests. At home, we gathered everything we had. The recordings, the forged documents, every piece of the puzzle that showed Sebastian and Trina's plans. The next morning, we confronted Sebastian and Trina in Ruth's living room. Alex held up a stack of papers. "We know what you've been doing, and we have proof." Sebastian's face went white, but he quickly masked it with anger. "Get out. This isn't your business." "It's very much our business," I said, stepping closer. "We won't let you do this." Trina's eyes flared with anger. "You have no idea what you're up against." Ruth's voice cut through the tension. "Neither do you." That's when I noticed the flicker of doubt in their eyes. They sensed the tide turning. We left them in a stunned silence, our mission clear: protect Ruth at all costs and bring their schemes into the light. As we walked away, the weight of the conflict didn't seem so crushing anymore. For the first time, we felt hope. The battle wasn't over, but we were prepared for whatever came next. Ruth's strength fortified us, and together we would dismantle the sinister game piece by piece. The following week, our tense standoff with Sebastian and Trina escalated rapidly. Secrets and lies clashed with our determination to protect Ruth. One rainy afternoon, I decided to sneak into Sebastian's office while he was out. The room reeked of arrogance, with its dark, imposing furniture and meticulously organized documents. My hands shook slightly as I rifled through drawers. Footsteps in the hallway made my heart race. I ducked behind the heavy curtains just as Trina entered. She was on the phone, her voice sharp and hushed. "The doctor will declare her unfit by Friday. Make sure the papers are ready. Once that's secure, we'll transfer everything into our names." Recordings. I fumbled with my phone, pressing record as fast as I could, capturing her malicious plan. Our proof was growing stronger by the minute. After Trina left, I carefully placed everything back in its place and slipped out of the office, heart pounding. As Alex drove us home, we replayed the recording. Each word filled us with a fresh wave of anger. "We've got them now," Alex said, gripping the wheel. "This proves everything." The next day, Ruth asked to be taken to a familiar park. We walked through the quiet paths, the sun casting long, comforting shadows. Her eyes were alert, yet her silence indicated contemplation. "They've put their pieces on the board," she finally said. "It's time for us to make our move." Alex nodded. "We're ready. We have enough to take to the attorney." That evening, we prepared the documents and recordings, carefully organizing them to present a compelling case. Each file was another nail in Sebastian and Trina's coffin. The confrontation came sooner than expected. On Friday morning, we received a call. "Mom's gone." Alex's voice was frantic. "They've taken her." I swallowed a rising panic. "Where?" "I don't know. They're not answering." We drove to Sebastian's house, a firestorm of urgency fueling us. Upon arrival, we found the house empty, echoing with a disturbing silence. Panic turned to grim resolve. "Check the study," Alex urged. "There might be clues." In Sebastian's office, we found an itinerary for a private clinic. I snapped a picture and raced back to Alex. "This must be where they took her." "We're bringing her back," Alex said, his voice steely with determination. We reached the clinic in record time. As we barged in, Sebastian met us at the door, fury blazing in his eyes. "You're not supposed to be here, and you're not supposed to kidnap our mother," Alex shouted. Trina stood beside him, smug and defiant. "We have every right. She's unfit." Ruth's voice broke through the commotion. "Funny, considering you needed to forge documents to prove it." Alex stepped forward. "We have recordings of your plans, your threats. It's over, Sebastian." Sebastian's expression flickered with doubt, but quickly hardened into a sneer. "You have nothing." "We'll see about that," Alex replied, holding up his phone. "We're taking this to the authorities." Trina's confidence crumbled as the reality of their situation hit her. "This isn't over," she screamed, but her voice lacked conviction. We escorted Ruth out, her demeanor calm, but her eyes blazing with triumph. On the drive home, she said, "They underestimated us." "That was their first mistake," I replied, glancing at Alex, who squeezed my hand. At home, we sat around the dining table, a quiet victory settling over us. Ruth's strength had been our guide, her resilience our beacon. Sebastian and Trina's vile nature had been their undoing, and with every piece of evidence, we moved closer to justice. We knew the battle wasn't entirely over, but we stood united, ready for whatever came next. Ruth smiled at us, her eyes full of pride. They thought they outsmarted us, but they were playing my game all along. And in that moment, I felt it in my bones. This family was stronger than their deceit, and together we would ensure that justice was served. The following Monday, we gathered our evidence and headed to our attorney's office. The weight of everything we'd collected bore down on us, but Ruth's presence steeled our resolve. Mr. Harris, our attorney, scanned through the documents and recordings with growing astonishment. "This is damning evidence," he said finally. "It's more than enough to take to the authorities." Ruth nodded firmly. "It's time we put an end to their schemes." We left Mr. Harris's office with a sense of guarded triumph. Now the battle was in the hands of the legal system. Our job wasn't finished, but we had struck a decisive blow. Back at home, Ruth shared a quiet moment with Alex and me. "Thank you for standing by me," she said softly. "This wouldn't have been possible without you." "We're a family," Alex replied. "That's what we do." A week later, the police arrived at Sebastian's house. We watched from a distance as officers escorted him and Trina into custody. The sight was surreal, the culmination of all our efforts finally taking tangible form. "That's just the beginning," Ruth said, watching them being driven away. "Their reckoning is far from over." Later that evening, Ruth invited us to join her in the living room. "There's something you need to know," she said, motioning us to sit. She began recounting the moments she had overheard Sebastian and Trina's plans. It was clear from the start, they didn't just want control, they wanted everything. As she spoke, a chilling determination underscored her words. "I decided to pretend, to play into their perceptions. Being underestimated gave me the upper hand." "You were brilliant, Mom," Alex said, admiration evident in his voice. "Thank you," she replied. "But the fight's not over yet. We have to see this through." The true extent of Ruth's cunning became clear when she revealed her final move. "I moved my assets into a trust managed by Leah before their plans could take hold." My breath caught. "You trusted me with everything?" Ruth's eyes softened. "You've always had a good heart, Leah. I knew you would protect my legacy." The next few days were a whirlwind. The scandal of Sebastian and Trina's arrest reverberated through the community, disgracing them publicly. Every news outlet carried the story of their attempt to manipulate and defraud their own mother. One evening, a knock at the door revealed an officer with more news. "Sebastian and Trina are being charged with elder abuse and fraud. Their trial is set for next month." Alex and I shared a look of relief. Finally, justice was within reach. Ruth's eyes sparkled with a renewed vigor. "We'll be there to see it happen." The weeks leading up to the trial were tense, but Ruth's strength anchored us. She remained steadfast, her resolve unwavering. And when the day of the trial arrived, we walked into the courtroom as a united front. Sebastian and Trina looked defeated, far removed from their former arrogance. The evidence we provided painted a damning picture, and their defense crumbled under the weight of their deceit. Ruth took the stand, her testimony a powerful testament to her resilience. "I am not a pawn in their game. I am my own person, and I will not be controlled." The verdict was clear and just, guilty on all counts. Outside the courthouse, the reality of our victory settled in. Ruth turned to us, her eyes filled with gratitude. "We did it." "No, Mom," Alex corrected gently. "You did it. We just followed your lead." Ruth's smile was a beacon of the strength and love that had carried us through. This family is stronger together. They underestimated that, and it was their downfall. As we drove home, a sense of closure enveloped us. Ruth's cleverness and our unity had triumphed over deceit and greed. The battle had been long and arduous, but we emerged stronger, bound by the love and determination that made us a family. After the trial, a tense quiet settled over our lives. But beneath the calm surface, we knew the battle wasn't truly over. Sebastian and Trina might be facing jail time, but there were still loose ends to tie up. One evening, Ruth gathered us in the living room. "There's something more you need to know," she said. Her eyes twinkled with a mischievous glint I hadn't seen before. "What is it, Mom?" Alex asked, curiosity piqued. Ruth looked at us with a sly smile. "I've been planning one last move. Sebastian and Trina think they've hit rock bottom, but they haven't seen anything yet." I blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" Ruth leaned back in her chair, her demeanor confident. Their house, their cars, everything they've accumulated using my money, I've already started the process to have it all seized. They'll have nothing left, Alex said, understanding dawning on his face. Ruth nodded. Exactly. They need to understand the full consequences of their actions. The next day, we worked with the attorneys to expedite the process. The legal wheels turned swiftly, and soon enough, the foreclosure notices were delivered. Facing both incarceration and financial ruin, Sebastian and Trina were left reeling. A week later, we visited the house one last time. The once intimidating mansion now stood eerily quiet, stripped of its former grandeur. Sebastian and Trina were there, gathering their remaining belongings. As we approached, Sebastian's face twisted with anger. "You've taken everything from us." "No," Ruth corrected calmly. "You did that to yourselves." Trina's face was a mask of hatred. "You think you've won, don't you?" "Yes," Ruth said simply. "Not because of what I've taken, but because of what I've protected." Sebastian lunged forward, but the presence of our attorney and a couple of officers kept him at bay. "This isn't over," he spat. "Actually, it is," Alex said, stepping between us and Sebastian. "For you, it's all over." We walked away from the scene knowing that Sebastian and Trina's downfall was complete. Ruth's resolve and our unity had ensured they could no longer harm our family. In the days that followed, the mood in our home lifted. Ruth's trust in us had brought a new level of closeness in our family dynamic. We spent more time together, enjoying the simple moments that had once seemed elusive. One sunny afternoon, we decided to have a small celebration in the backyard. As we set up the table, Ruth smiled warmly at us. "This is what family should be," she said contentedly. Alex wrapped his arm around her shoulder. "We owe it all to you, Mom. You taught us what it means to be strong." "And clever?" I added with a grin. "Thank you, both of you," Ruth said, her eyes glistening with tears of joy. "I wouldn't have come this far without you." Under the amber glow of the setting sun, we sat around the table, toasting to our shared victory and newfound peace. It felt like the dawn of a new chapter, one free from the shadows of betrayal. But as we basked in our moment of happiness, a slight worry tugged at the back of my mind. Would Sebastian and Trina truly give up? Had we really seen the last of their vile nature? Only time would tell. For now, though, we chose to live in the present, cherishing the harmony we had fought so hard to reclaim. Ruth's wisdom and courage had taught us that family wasn't just about blood. It was about standing up for each other, no matter the cost. In the end, Ruth's gambit had outsmarted the most cunning adversaries. It had shown us the true strength of our bonds and the importance of justice. And for that, we were eternally grateful. A month had passed since the trial, and life had settled into a new, comforting rhythm. Ruth now lived with us, her presence a constant source of strength and warmth. We all did our best to put the turbulent past behind us, though at times it cast long shadows over our days. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, a knock at the door shattered our peace. Alex went to answer it, and moments later he returned with a letter in his hand, his expression unreadable. "What is it?" I asked, my pulse quickening. "It's from Sebastian," he said, handing me the envelope. A chill ran down my spine as I opened it and began to read. "Dear Alex, it seems you and your beloved Leah have won this round. Enjoy your victory while it lasts. Just remember, a cornered animal is the most dangerous. We will be back." I looked at Ruth, who sat calmly awaiting our reaction. "He's threatening us," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Ruth sighed, her eyes reflecting a mix of annoyance and resolve. "Let them try. We're ready for whatever comes next." True to Ruth's spirit, we continued to live our lives, not allowing Sebastian's ominous message to shake us. We fortified our defenses, both legally and emotionally. Our unity was our strength, and we knew he couldn't break that. One afternoon, Alex and I found Ruth in the garden, tending to her beloved roses. "Mom," Alex said gently, "we need to talk about the future." Ruth looked up, her hands still covered in soil. "What's on your mind?" "We want to ensure that you're always protected," I explained. "Maybe we should formalize the trust and secure everything." Ruth wiped her hands on a cloth and stood up, her expression thoughtful. "You're right. It's time to take the final steps." In the days that followed, we worked with Mr. Harris to solidify Ruth's assets into an irrevocable trust. Each signature and sealed document felt like another layer of protection forming around her, around us. One evening, while we were finalizing the papers, Ruth paused, looking over the documents. "This isn't just about protecting me, she said, her eyes meeting mine. "It's about protecting what's right, ensuring that deceit never wins." We nodded, understanding and appreciating the gravity of her words. Weeks passed, and the threat from Sebastian faded into a distant memory, though we remained vigilant. As summer gave way to autumn, our new life with Ruth felt more natural, a testament to the resilience we all shared. One crisp autumn morning, Ruth called us into the living room. There, she sat with an old, weathered book on her lap. "I want to read you something," she said, opening the book. Her voice filled the room as she recited a passage about justice, love, and the unbreakable bonds of family. "This is what you've given me," she said, closing the book and looking at us with glistening eyes. "A family that stands together, even in the face of adversity." Alex hugged her tight, his voice thick with emotion. "We wouldn't be here without you, Mom. You showed us what it means to truly fight for each other." Ruth smiled, a tear slipping down her cheek. "And you showed me what it means to be truly loved and protected." As we sat there, wrapped in the warmth of each other's presence, I realized that this was the true victory. Not just outsmarting Sebastian and Trina, but becoming a family in the fullest sense. We were stronger, more united, and ready for whatever lay ahead. The echoes of past conflicts faded into the background, and we embraced the harmony we had worked so hard to achieve. Ruth's wisdom and courage had led us through the darkest times, and now in the light, we found peace. And in that peace, we carved out a future together, one that Sebastian and Trina could never touch.
The moment I married Daniel, I knew his mother, Evelyn, didn't like me. She had made that clear during the wedding planning, nitpicking every detail and dismissing my ideas as if I were some outsider trespassing on her perfect family. But Daniel loved me, and I thought that was enough. For a while, I tried to ignore Evelyn's snide remarks and her constant need to control everything in our lives. I told myself it was her way of showing she cared, even though it never really felt like care, more like domination. Everything changed a year into our marriage when I received an inheritance from my Aunt Margaret. Aunt Maggie had been more like a second mother to me after my parents passed away, and her sudden death left me heartbroken. I wasn't expecting to receive anything from her estate, but when the lawyer called, he explained she'd left me $150,000 to follow my dreams. It was overwhelming, and I felt a mix of gratitude and guilt, knowing she had saved this for me. Evelyn, of course, found out. Daniel must have mentioned it. He didn't understand the concept of keeping things private, especially from his mother. The day Evelyn came over uninvited, wearing her usual forced smile, I knew something was up. "Lauren, sweetheart," she said, her tone dripping with feigned warmth. "I heard about the inheritance. Such a blessing, isn't it?" I nodded cautiously. "It is. Aunt Maggie was very generous." "Well," Evelyn sighed dramatically, clasping her hands together. "I hate to bring this up, but the family estate has hit a bit of a rough patch. You know how these old properties are, constant repairs, maintenance. And with the economy the way it is," she trailed off, letting her words hang in the air like bait on a hook. I didn't bite. "That sounds stressful, Evelyn. I hope you and Mr. Preston can figure it out." Her smile faltered for a split second before she quickly recovered. "We could if we had a little help. I know it's asking a lot, but you're part of this family now. This estate is Daniel's legacy, after all. A small portion of that inheritance could make all the difference." I was stunned. I didn't know what to say, so I mumbled something about needing time to think. Over the next few days, Evelyn ramped up the pressure. She visited constantly, dropping hints about the estate's importance and how it would one day belong to me and Daniel. Daniel, ever the peacemaker, urged me to consider it. "It's for the family," he said, as if that made it okay. Reluctantly, I agreed to give her $100,000. I told myself it was the right thing to do, that keeping the peace was more important than the money. Evelyn acted grateful, but the way her eyes lit up when I handed her that check gave me a bad feeling I couldn't shake. It didn't take long for the truth to come out. A few weeks later, I overheard a conversation between Evelyn and one of her friends while they thought I was out of the house. "Oh, the estate is fine," Evelyn laughed. That money went to something much more fun. You should see the necklace I bought. It's stunning. And I've got a trip to Paris booked for next month. My blood ran cold. I confronted her that same day, but she just laughed in my face. What's done is done, she said smugly. You'll get over it. But I didn't get over it. I started digging and found out that Evelyn had a history of manipulating people for money, including her own relatives. Furious, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I hired a lawyer and uncovered documents showing Evelyn had lied about the estate's financial problems. Armed with proof, I not only sued her to recover my inheritance, but also exposed her schemes to the rest of the family. Evelyn's reputation was destroyed. Her so-called friends abandoned her, and Daniel, finally seeing his mother's true colors, stood by my side. The court ruled in my favor, and I got my money back, along with a sense of justice. Evelyn still tries to contact Daniel occasionally, but I've made it clear she's no longer welcome in our lives. She can keep her estate and her lies. I have no use for either. What I do have is my dignity and the knowledge that I won't let anyone, not even family, take advantage of me again. After the court ruling, I felt a mixture of relief and anger. Evelyn had been publicly exposed for her manipulation, but the emotional toll she had taken on my life couldn't be undone. The trust one had placed in Daniel's family was shattered, and I knew I needed time to heal. Daniel, for his part, was deeply apologetic. He admitted he should have seen the warning signs earlier and regretted pushing me to give in to his mother. While I appreciated his support during the legal battle, I couldn't ignore the cracks that Evelyn's schemes had caused in our relationship. One evening, as we sat in the living room, Daniel turned to me, his face etched with worry. "Lauren, I've been thinking maybe we should move. Start fresh somewhere else, away from my mother and all the drama." I looked at him, surprised. The idea was tempting. A new city, a new home, and a chance to rebuild our lives without Evelyn's looming presence sounded like exactly what I needed. But a part of me couldn't help but wonder if running away was the solution. "I don't know, Daniel," I said cautiously. "Moving won't fix everything. We need to work on us first." He nodded, understanding. "You're right. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." In the months that followed, Daniel and I attended counseling to address the lingering issues in our marriage. Slowly, we began to rebuild our relationship. I also took steps to protect myself financially, setting up a trust for my inheritance and ensuring no one else could access it without my consent. It was empowering to take control of my life again. Evelyn, on the other hand, spiraled into isolation. The lawsuit and subsequent fallout had left her with few allies, and her extravagant lifestyle quickly caught up with her. I heard through the grapevine that she had to sell her jewelry and cancel her Paris trip to cover her mounting debts. Part of me felt vindicated, but I also pitied her. She had spent her entire life chasing wealth and control, only to end up alone. One day, out of the blue, Evelyn showed up at our doorstep. I froze when I saw her standing there, looking far less composed than usual. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her makeup smudged, and her eyes hollow. She was a shadow of the woman who had once gloated about her manipulations. "Lauren," she began, her voice trembling. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I've lost everything, and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm begging you. Please, can we talk?" I stared at her, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face, but another part of me felt a twinge of compassion. After all, I wasn't like her. I didn't thrive on someone else's misery. Still, forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, and it certainly didn't mean allowing her back into my life. "I don't think we have anything to talk about, Evelyn," I said firmly. "You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences." Her face crumpled, and she started to say something, but I closed the door before she could continue. Daniel, who had been listening from the kitchen, walked over and put his arm around me. "You did the right thing," he said softly. Over time, life returned to normal. Daniel and I moved forward, stronger than before, and I focused on building the future Aunt Maggie had always wanted for me. Evelyn faded into the background, a reminder of the damage greed and manipulation can cause. In the end, I learned that standing up for myself wasn't just about getting back what was stolen. It was about reclaiming my voice, my strength, and my peace of mind. And that, more than anything, was the true victory. Months turned into years, and the shadow Evelyn had cast over our lives slowly dissipated. Daniel and I had settled into a healthier, more balanced dynamic. Our communication had improved, and the trust that had been fractured was now stronger. We even bought a modest but beautiful house far from the toxic environment his family had created. It felt like a fresh start in every sense of the word. One day, as I was sorting through some old boxes in our attic, I came across a journal that belonged to Aunt Maggie. I hadn't had the strength to go through her things after her passing, but now, curiosity overtook me. I sat down and began flipping through the pages. Each entry was a mixture of her thoughts, dreams, and lessons she had learned over the years. One entry stood out. It was dated a few years before her passing and read, "Asterisk to my dear Lauren. If you're reading this, it means you've come into your inheritance. I hope you use it wisely, but more importantly, I hope you use it to create a life that makes you truly happy. Money is a tool, not a goal, and the real wealth in life is the love and peace you surround yourself with. Never let anyone take that from you, asterisk." Her words hit me like a tidal wave. Aunt Maggie had always been the voice of reason in my life, and even now, her wisdom guided me. For so long, I had focused on fighting to reclaim what Evelyn had taken, but I realized it wasn't the money that mattered. It was the sense of self-respect I had regained. That realization pushed me to start something new. I decided to use part of the inheritance to fund a program in Aunt Maggie's name, a community center that offered financial literacy classes, career counseling, and support for women going through difficult situations. It was my way of turning something painful into something meaningful, and it felt like a tribute to the woman who had believed in me. The center became a success. Women from all walks of life came through its doors, and each time I heard their stories of resilience and courage, I felt a deep sense of purpose. It wasn't just about helping them, it was about honoring the strength I had found within myself. As for Evelyn, I never heard from her again after that fateful day at the door. I sometimes wondered what became of her, but I never let it consume me. Daniel made peace with the estrangement, realizing that some relationships, even familial ones, are better left in the past. Life wasn't perfect, it never is, but it was mine, and I had built it on my own terms. Aunt Maggie's words stayed with me, a reminder that the best revenge isn't just reclaiming what was lost, but thriving in spite of it. And that's exactly what I did. Years later, the community center named after Aunt Maggie grew beyond anything I had imagined. What started as a small operation evolved into a thriving organization that not only helped women but also provided scholarships, mentorship programs, and even childcare services for struggling single parents. It became a beacon of hope for so many, and every time I walked through its doors, I felt a surge of pride. Aunt Maggie's legacy had become something beautiful, something that changed lives. Daniel supported me every step of the way. While his relationship with Evelyn had ended, he found solace in building a life centered around kindness and honesty. We had learned to prioritize what mattered most, our relationship and the values we wanted to uphold. One afternoon, as I was reviewing applications for a new mentorship program, I received an unexpected call. The voice on the other end was hesitant, almost unrecognizable. "Lauren," the voice said, "it's Evelyn." I froze. My immediate reaction was to hang up, but something in her tone stopped me. It wasn't the sharp, commanding voice I remembered. It was soft, almost pleading. "What do you want, Evelyn?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. I don't deserve your time, but I've heard about the center. What you've done is extraordinary." She paused, as if choosing her next words carefully. "I'm calling to apologize for everything." Her words took me by surprise. Evelyn was the last person I expected to admit fault. Part of me wanted to lash out, to remind her of the pain she had caused, but another part of me, the one shaped by Aunt Maggie's teachings, chose a different path. "I appreciate that," I said cautiously. "But an apology doesn't erase the damage you've done." "I know," she said, her voice cracking. I've lost everything, Lauren. My friends, my reputation, even Daniel. I just wanted to say I'm sorry before it's too late. I didn't ask what she meant by too late. I didn't want to know. Evelyn had made her choices, and while I had found peace, I wasn't ready to let her back into my life. I told her I wished her well, then ended the call. Later that evening, I told Daniel about it. He listened quietly, his expression unreadable. When I finished, he simply said, "You handled it better than most would have." From that moment on, Evelyn became nothing more than a distant memory. Her chapter in my life was truly closed. As the years went on, Daniel and I continued to build our lives together. We started a family, and the lessons I had learned through my struggles with Evelyn became the foundation of how I raised our children. I taught them about boundaries, self-respect, and the importance of standing up for what's right. One day, as I watched our daughter play in the backyard, I thought about Aunt Maggie. She would have loved this. The life I had built, the person I had become. Her wisdom had been my guide through the darkest times, and now, her legacy was alive not just in the center that bore her name, but in the strength I had found within myself. Evelyn's greed may have tried to break me, but in the end, it only made me stronger. And that strength was the greatest revenge of all.
Sis, you need to be careful about who you date. Okay, you're cute and have a great personality, but you're a little too easygoing and sometimes spacey. You could get taken advantage of by the wrong kind of guy. You know, you really think you should be with a loser like him. He's just a deadbeat, good for nothing in society. You should break up with him right away. I was dismissed by her younger sister and looked down upon as a deadbeat. Her voice echoed loudly across the floor, drawing the attention of everyone around us. Among them was the face of the hospital director, and I nervously scratched the back of my head, realizing I was in deep trouble. That was a real low point for her younger sister. My name is David. I have a medical license, but I've been out of the country until recently, so I'm currently not employed. Right now, I'm enjoying a relaxed, carefree life. Back when I worked as a surgeon at a university hospital, I was so busy I barely had time to eat or even take a break. Now I cherish the moments when I can enjoy a warm meal or sleep through the night in my own bed. Today, I had a long-awaited date with my girlfriend, Catherine. Catherine and I went to the same college. We first met on the day of our entrance exams when our seats happened to be next to each other. Even though it was such an important day, I had forgotten my eraser and was panicking. Seeing my distress, she offered me a brand new eraser she had as a spare, saying, "We've both worked so hard to get here, right? We should help each other out at times like this. Please don't hesitate to accept." With that kind gesture, she seemed like an angel to me, and I began to fall for her. Luckily, both Catherine and I passed the exams and we reconnected at the orientation. She recognized me, and we became friends. From then on, my actions revolved around her. I always made an effort to strike up a conversation and being friends, making sure to sit close to her during lectures. I researched everything she seemed interested in so we'd have common topics to talk about, and I even studied fashion to make sure I looked my best. The only thing I couldn't change was my height. Of course, I didn't want her to lose interest, so I also worked hard academically. Thanks to my relentless studying, I was able to consistently achieve top grades in our class, and Catherine began to rely on me more and more. Then, during the summer of my sophomore year in college, on a trip night with my buddies, I managed to take her for a walk. It was a moonlit night, still a tad humid. The lodging was conveniently located just a short walk to the beach, so we headed towards the ocean on foot. The nighttime sea was in stark contrast to the bustling daytime. It was tranquil, with only the sound of the waves echoing. The modest moonlight reflected on the water, shimmering like stars. "It feels like I could watch this forever. It's so mystical and beautiful," I said. I couldn't clearly see Catherine's face in the darkness, but I could tell she was probably smiling gently, and I felt an overwhelming surge of emotions. "Catherine, I love you," I said. I had thought of many scenarios for my confession, but when the moment came, it seems only cliché words came out. When I said those words, she looked at me in surprise. Her big eyes widened even more as she slowly brought both hands to her mouth. "Wait, David, really?" "Yes, it's true. I fell for you when you lent me an eraser during exams." "Please be my girlfriend," I said, bowing my head and extending my right hand towards her. It felt like an eternity, but it was probably only a few seconds. After a brief pause, when she touched my hand, I abruptly looked up. She seemed momentarily taken aback, but soon greeted me with a smile. "If you're okay with me, I'd love to. I've always admired how dedicated you are, David, and I thought you were cool." "Really?" "Yes, really. Let's make it work," she said. With that, she bowed her head to me. In return, I also bowed, and the two of us found ourselves repeatedly bowing, which became comical, and we shared a laugh. From that day on, we've been together. Over time, because we've been together for so long, our ways of thinking have become similar, and sometimes we're jokingly referred to as an old married couple. But I always find myself falling for Catherine all over again. Even today, seeing her happily holding a cup of hot chocolate, she looks so adorable. Her burgundy knit sweater, her black flare skirt, and her houndstooth scarf all fit her as if they were custom-made. Could it be that this entire world exists just for her? Maybe Catherine truly is a goddess. "David, what have you been up to since returning to the States?" After sharing most of my recent life, Catherine, tilting her head slightly, asked me that. Her gesture was as endearing as a small animal. I wanted to shout to the world how cute she is. Suppressing such thoughts deep within my heart, I answered nonchalantly, "Well, I haven't settled down yet, so I'll be living in a hotel for a while. Can't really splurge since I have no income. After all, I'm unemployed now." "You actually call yourself unemployed?" She laughed amusingly at that. I think her smile is a national treasure. No, a world treasure. I wish I could buy it with all my wealth. "I'm not working, so no income," as I made that self-deprecating joke, she laughed. "Such precious moments, I wish they could last forever. But life isn't always that kind." "Catherine." Suddenly, a voice clearly aimed at us rang out. When both of us turned towards the voice, a woman stood there with a stern expression. She came right next to the table where we were having coffee and started talking to Catherine. "Sis, what a coincidence. A date?" "Oh, Heather. Truly unexpected. Yes, we're on a date right now. This is David. David, this is my younger sister, Heather." "Your younger sister. Nice to meet you, Heather," reaching out to shake her hand. She openly looked at me with disdain and ignored my gesture. "Ha, she's ignoring me. What should I do with this outstretched hand?" "You need to be careful about the men you date. You are pretty and have a good personality, but you're a bit naive. It would be trouble if you were deceived by some shady guy." "What? David is not like that. I overheard your conversation earlier. He's unemployed and has no income, right? He's not even handsome and is short. I don't get why you're with him." "That was just a joke, you know. He's actually. Anyway, I will never accept him. I'll do everything I can to interfere. I have an appointment, so I have to go. Goodbye." Saying this, she glared at me and left the cafe. She had a takeaway coffee in hand, so she must have just stopped by for a moment. Her fast-paced walk seemed courageous. Heather can be a bit strong-willed, but she's very talented. She's younger than us, she gets good grades, and she's starting her internship at a university hospital next week. "Oh, I see. Considering she's younger than us, Heather must be a medical student. You two seem close." "We are. She's my adorable little sister. I'm sure the misunderstanding will be cleared up, so please get along with her." I nodded at her cheerful demeanor. It felt like I was looking at the Virgin Mary, or so I naively thought. A few days after my date with Catherine, I had a reason to visit the university hospital where Catherine works. I used to work here, and to add to that, I graduated from the affiliated college of this hospital. It feels like home to me. My business was over quickly, and as I waited in the elevator lobby, thinking of seeing Catherine and heading home, a group of individuals in white coats approached from behind. It seems they were medical interns with their supervising doctors. I recognized some of the doctors, but among the interns, there was one familiar face. She noticed me and exclaimed, "Oh, why are you here?" The one pointing and shouting at me was Catherine's younger sister, Heather. Pointing at someone is considered rude, I thought, trying to muster a smile. I couldn't tell her the real reason I was here, so as I was thinking of a way to sidestep the question, Heather continued to rant. "Did you come to see Catherine? What are you, a stalker? Jobless, ugly, and a stalker. How low can you go? I won't let you near her, you criminal. Hey, calm down, Heather. Don't call me by my name just because my sister is kind and can be easily deceived. It doesn't mean she's calling for a man like you. Just go home and be jobless. My sister deserves someone smart, hiring, tall, handsome, kind, and capable of doing house chores. The exact opposite of you. Hey, stop it, Heather. This man is. Stay away from my sister. If you keep hanging around, I'll call the police. Oh, I don't have my phone because I'm on duty. Is this your doing? What are you talking about? Heather, calm down, please. You seem really confused. One of my former colleagues, a doctor, tried to intervene, but Heather kept glaring at me. Look, this man used to be Dr. Abbott, a surgeon at this hospital. What? The doctor. Heather looked back and forth between me and the former colleague, surprised. But didn't you say he was jobless and had no income? Well, I had just returned from Germany and haven't settled into a job yet, so technically, I was without an income at that time. But even if you had a medical license, if you didn't have a job, you were unemployed, right? That's true, but David will be rejoining our staff as of today, said the person emerging from behind. It was the hospital's director, an elderly gentleman with a laid-back demeanor, who handed me a paper while smiling. David, you left this behind. Here's your appointment letter. See, it's dated today for your return to surgery. The intern should remember his face. He's a brilliant surgeon who has pulled off numerous complex surgeries. Watching him operate is a great learning experience. Indeed, the reason I came to this university hospital today was to work here again. Director Johnson had graciously sent me off to Germany and ensured I had a place when I returned. The director always believed in my skills and tolerated my whims, but I owe a lot to Director Johnson and need to repay those favors. Hey, Heather, you want to be a surgeon, right? You'll be owing a lot to him. Better thank him now while you can, said the doctor standing next to Heather, patting her shoulder. Heather, in shock, murmured, I can't believe it. Well, it can't be helped. I hate to say it about myself, but I kind of look unreliable. Some even say I look just like a student. But no matter how good a surgeon he is, he's been neglecting my sister for so long. I know Catherine's been lonely, so I wanted to see what kind of guy her boyfriend was and followed you. And you seem so unreliable. I've been neglecting Catherine. It hurts when she says that. Heather probably loves her sister Catherine very much. That's why she's so aggressive towards me. If her sister's seemingly neglectful boyfriend turned out to be unemployed, it would make sense for her to be upset. After all, I was the one who convinced Catherine to stay behind while I went to Germany alone. But just as I was about to speak, a chime different from the usual announcement in the hospital echoed throughout. All the doctors present turned pale. Code blue, code blue. All medical staff, please assemble at the cardiology department. Hearing this, I immediately ran. A code blue is broadcasted when a critical emergency occurs and immediate medical attention is needed. Several other doctors and nurses also rushed towards the location. Of course, I wanted to save a life, but I was also filled with a bad premonition. Catherine was visiting the hospital today for a regular checkup because of her heart condition. I thought I'd see her after finishing my own tasks since medical exams usually involve a lot of waiting. Catherine has a rare heart condition, so she needs to go for regular checkups. There are many patients at the university hospital, so I was hoping it wasn't her. Even though I felt that way, the nagging feeling wouldn't go away. And as it turned out, my hunch was spot on. Catherine. Hang in there, Catherine. It was undoubtedly Catherine that the nurse was desperately performing CPR on. She had a ghost-white face with her eyes firmly closed. She seemed utterly worn out, and her breathing appeared quite labored. Catherine, what happened? I asked a nearby nurse about the situation. She collapsed suddenly after her examination. We've been performing chest compressions for the past 2 minutes. Asterisk, asterisk, the AED is ready. Got it, let me take over. Please, asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, do Catherine, wake up. Asterisk, asterisk, I took over the CPR from the nurse and kept calling out to her, but there was no change in Catherine's condition. The medical team was bustling around us. It's all to save a life, my sister. Asterisk, asterisk, no way. When asterisk, asterisk, Heather, who seemed to have arrived later, was also there, but I couldn't pay attention to her right now. I desperately called out to Catherine while performing CPR. Asterisk, asterisk, the AED is here, asterisk, asterisk. A doctor rushed over with an AED and promptly began to set it up. Asterisk, asterisk, it's ready. Step back. Asterisk, asterisk, an electric jolt was administered with a beeping sound, but the situation remained unchanged. Asterisk, asterisk, Catherine, asterisk, asterisk, I continued CPR while waiting for the next electric shock. Asterisk, asterisk, administering shock. Step back. Asterisk, asterisk, after the second shock, Catherine showed a faint coughing response. Asterisk, asterisk, she's back. Asterisk, asterisk, a response meant her heartbeat had returned. A wave of relief washed over everyone present, but it was too soon to relax. Asterisk, asterisk, David, the operating room is ready. Can you do it? Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, absolutely, let's do it. Asterisk, asterisk, his calm demeanor from earlier was gone. The serious expression came from Director Johnson, the hospital director. Director Johnson was aware of Catherine's condition and had allowed me to continue my medical duties while also treating her. He consistently updated me on the progress of her condition and her test results. Of course, we'd obtained her permission first. Catherine's condition was rare in the States, so it was largely unclear how to treat it. The only treatment was symptomatic, and it was agonizing to just watch her heart weaken over time. She had accepted her illness and merely offered resigned smiles. Then I found a paper from Germany detailing similar cases that had been completely cured with surgery. It was a ray of hope for me. If there was a chance to cure Catherine's illness, I'd do whatever it took without a second thought. I reached out to a hospital in Germany, and in no time my trip to Germany was set. However, Catherine was hesitant. Asterisk, asterisk, I appreciate your feelings, David, but I might not have much time left. It'd be too lonely without you by my side. I don't want to be alone. Please stay with me. Let's create a few more memories. Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, I wish you wouldn't say that. You mean everything to me, and without you, my life would be pointless. So please, I'm begging you, don't give up on your life. You're a doctor, right? Doctors shouldn't give up on lives. I promise I'll save you. Just hold on a little longer. Please stay strong for me. Asterisk, asterisk, after an emotional exchange filled with tears, Catherine finally relented. She recognized my medical skills and achievements. She said she believed in me. Asterisk, asterisk, David, I'll be waiting. I believe in you. Just hang in there. I'm going to learn everything I can as fast as possible. Take care of yourself until then. Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. Okay, you too. Don't wear yourself out. Asterisk, asterisk. A year and a half passed. It took longer than I'd anticipated, but I gained surgical experience in Germany and conducted research on some cases. With newfound confidence in saving Catherine's life, I returned to the States. Asterisk, asterisk, what do you mean surgery? Is my sister really that bad? I thought she was just feeling a bit under the weather. Asterisk, asterisk, pushing through the crowd. Heather approached me. Heather looked pale, on the verge of tears, understandably so given her beloved sister had just suffered a sudden cardiac arrest. Asterisk, asterisk, she probably didn't want to worry you, so she didn't tell you everything. I believe she had faith that she'd get better. Don't worry, I'll fix this. That's why I went all the way to Germany. I didn't cross the ocean just on a whim. Asterisk, asterisk, the words I told Heather were also reminders for myself. Asterisk, asterisk, I want you to contact your parents. It's all right. How can a doctor not believe in the vitality of a patient? Your sister Catherine, she's strong, right? Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. Yes, I know that even without you telling me, my sister won't be defeated by this. I trust you. Please save her. Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. Yes, I'll definitely save her. Asterisk, asterisk, with determination in my heart, I hurried to the operating room. I went through my pre-surgery routine, calming my nerves, changing, wearing a mask, washing my hands. I double-checked all the essentials and looked over the medical staff. Let's begin the surgery. The operation took a long 10 hours, but it was successful. A few weeks after the surgery, I peeked into Catherine's room. There was Heather, dressed in casual clothes, chatting away happily. Catherine, how are you feeling? I'm recovering very well. Everyone's been kind, and it's comfortable. It's just a bummer I can't walk around much. Well, your heart did stop once. Just bear with it for a bit. By the way, Heather, are you taking a break from your training? I'm off today. I'll be in surgery from tomorrow. Take care, big bro. It seems like her perception of me has changed since that incident. She appears to appreciate me more. Moreover, she has started coming to me with questions about her training. Our communication has improved, and I'm relieved. I'm getting thirsty. The only place to get a drink is the convenience store downstairs. It'll take a while, but I'll go get something. You too, take your time, Heather said, exiting the room with a mischievous smile. I couldn't help but smile at her casual thoughtfulness. Having nothing pressing to attend to, I took a seat next to Catherine's bed. There were moments I thought things might go south, but I'm glad. It's all thanks to you, David. From the day we first met during our exams, when I only lent you an eraser, to now saving my life. If it weren't for you, my life would have been entirely different. Thank you. Saying this, Catherine took my hand. Her hand felt warm, a reaffirmation of life. I felt a surge of happiness and gently squeezed her hand in return. If it weren't for you, Catherine, I wouldn't have been living my life this passionately. Whether it was college studies or becoming a doctor, I pushed through wanting to impress you. You're the driving force of my life, so we both can't do without each other, huh? Yeah, please it along. You too, David. We laughed together. Later, Catherine made a full recovery and returned to work. She consults her health but lives each day at her own pace. The beautiful and kind doctor is popular in the outpatient department. As always, Heather is diligently working on her medical training. She was inspired by Catherine and chose the path of becoming a doctor. She's hardworking and seems to have a knack for it. However, she still tends to jump to conclusions, and there's room for improvement. I genuinely hope she does her best. As for me, my days are packed. Director Johnson had facilitated my trip to Germany. In return, he often hints at that favor, keeping me on my toes. Well, I do feel indebted and want to repay the kindness. Despite the ups and downs, I'm glad I never gave up my determination, which even took me to Germany. I successfully saved Catherine, but it wasn't just my effort. It was Catherine's will to live, Heather and her family's support, help from the director, and others around us. It made me realize how much love surrounded Catherine. But of course, I believe I love her the most. Every day with the one you love isn't something to be taken for granted. So I'll have to cherish each day. I won't ever give up on our happiness. With that thought, I swore to give my all today and every day.